Mega Man, one of the most iconic video game franchises, and also my favorite one. In the last video, we analyzed the two games that started it all, Mega Man 1 and 2. We saw the first game establish a concept, and the second polish it all up quite nicely. The sequel was a huge success in both sales and critics, making Mega Man hit a boom in popularity. Despite being very old games, I had a lot of fun playing through them. Even though the first was slightly rocky, by the second game we had something very special going on. The tight controls, the level and enemy design, the variety of gameplay through power-ups. Mega Man 2 is called a classic for good reason. So, when you create something that is very successful, there is naturally big expectations for a follow-up. Can you make something as good as what came before? Can you make it even better? Not only that, but the question I personally have is, which path would the developers choose when making a new game? Will they play it safe, just making new bosses and power-ups, or are they willing to add new mechanics, perhaps even changing the core of the game a little? Well, the answer is likely somewhere in between those 2 points. And of course, the most important thing is a good execution, regardless of whether it's using a new formula or a repeated one. So, let's dash ahead and charge ourselves up to find out what the third and fourth games bring to the table. The title screen this time is surprisingly simple. I liked the little visual sequence on the previous game, so it's a shame we don't have something similar here. Getting into my first stage and hell yeah, we can finally slide now. It's good to have some ability for quick horizontal movement, and the slide is very much required in the game for those smaller gaps you can't fit through normally. And of course, it helps a lot with dodging stuff. Honestly, I could do without the charge and shot, but the slide is a huge deal for me. It expands your movement options, which makes it more interesting to traverse through stages and fight bosses. Another addition is Rush. The good boy is here. Functionality-wise, he fills in the same role as the items from the previous game, although this time you start with one right off the bat, Rush Coil. He becomes a spring you can jump on and reach higher spots. This ability is also mandatory to progress on most stages. That means there is a danger of you running out of energy for it and getting stuck. Thankfully, that didn't happen to me. Later on, you unlock Rush Jet, which functions the same as item 2 from before, and Rush Marine, which can only be used in underwater sections. Rush Jet is as good as its predecessor, allowing you to skip tricky platforming sections, and Rush Marine is on a weird spot. It already sees very limited usage, since it's underwater only by design, and even when you get the chance to use it, the energy consumption is so high that you're probably better off just using Rush Jet instead. A big oversight in its balancing. It's a shame because I thought it was a really cool power-up and I wanted to use it for more than just a few seconds. And there's one more subtle, yet very impactful change in our toolset. E-tanks, well, they're here again. But unlike in the previous game, when you game over, you get to keep them. I think this change trivializes the game a little. Technically, you can farm E-tanks as much as you want and just burn through whatever boss you're having trouble with. Sure, you could stock up E-tanks before, but if you got a game over, you would lose all of it. It's much easier to get a hold of a fair supply of them here. I got to some point where I just used them to burn through boss cause I just had too many. This time their in place is much easier to get to as well. Overall, I don't think it's a bad choice though, since it makes the game more accessible, and if you want a challenge you can just not use them. However, sometimes you just don't want to do the entire stage again because of a game over, so yeah, it's very tempting to use them. I'd rather just have infinite lives and no E-tanks, meaning I could play a section over and over until I truly learn it, instead of just powering through them with healing items. The stages are good though. I feel like they maintain the quality from 2. It's good fun. Sliding allows you to have an easier time avoiding enemies and making a run from some. It may make the game a little easier, but I like pulling off good moves with it, so it's fine, it's not like the game is easy for free. Thanks to that, or maybe due to me getting more familiar with Mega Man gameplay in general, I had a much quicker and easier time through most stages. Which is good, since I think Mega Man 2 felt just a little too long. After you beat the 8 Robot Masters, you don't go to the final stretch at Wily's castle right away though. 4 new stages pop up, featuring mysterious figures. Turns out those stages are kind of remixes of the 8 previous ones, and in each you face 2 bosses, which are previous Robot Masters from Mega Man 2. That's interesting. You gotta figure out the weaknesses again, but with the new weapons. One thing that really sucks though is that if you die to the first boss on the stage, you start all over from the beginning. Couldn't they just give a checkpoint before each boss? The stages themselves are whatever. It's the same mechanics and visuals you've seen before, just arranged in a different way. But I must say I still had fun. That's because the mechanics, the gameplay, they're good by themselves. Yet I can't help but feel that this is artificial length to just reuse elements blatantly like that. I'm fine with them reusing bosses from 2 though, that was cool. And with the remake stages out of the way, we're on to the final Wily stages. I feel like they were shorter and easier this time around. The second stage was the most annoying one easily. Not because the boss is a new yellow devil, but because if you die, you have to go all the way from the beginning of the stage. Seriously, why? On the third stage, I think I cheesed the boss accidentally. It died like instantly after I used top spin on it. When I heard the death sound, I had thought I was the one who died, but I won? Unexpectedly, the game is very forgiving on the last bosses, giving you checkpoints right before the final fight, and before the final fight. The latter one was surprisingly easy, mind you. One thing I noticed though, which scared me, is that while doing the Wily stages, if you get to the game over screen and you push the stage select option, you go all the way back to the first Wily stage. Yeah, you just lose all your progress. And stage select is the default option, so if you're mashing your controller or simply miss an input, I'm very sorry for you. Well, nowadays you have save states, but I can only imagine the pain from this happening back then. So far, this game seems to be the one that tries the most to show bits of a story. In some stages, you'll find this mysterious red guy. Well, we all know his name nowadays. He is Proto Man, and while you fight him a few times, sometimes he'll also show up to help you, even saving you after you defeat the final boss. But he's not able to save Dr. Wily. The final boss itself was Gamma, a giant robot which Wily stole from Dr. Light. And in the credit sequence we get a list of the first robots made by Light, which are the bosses from Mega Man 1. And Mega Man himself and his sister Ro, and the first one of them all, Proto Man, which is Mega Man's older brother, and the red robot we met many times on our journey. Look at him right there in the sky. Yeah, it's still very simple of a story. But hey, before this we barely got anything. You didn't even hear me talking about story in the previous game so far, have you? I know there are sources if you want to actually know what's going on in detail, but since my main goal is to analyze the games, I'll stick only with what's presented in them. Now let's get to my favorite part, the special weapons. My favorite here is easily the top spin. It's the first melee attack in the series, it seems. You can only use it in the air, and man, it's fun to use despite being very simple. Spin to win, baby. But instead of going on to talk about the other weapons, I'd rather do a little rant this time around. So, I think special weapons so far have been underutilized in the series. Sure, each is effective against each boss, usually one of them allows you to access certain areas of a stage, and sometimes they make dealing with certain enemies easier. But I have that feeling that more could be done with them. I would like to see more interactions between them and stage elements, creative ways to use them and have your playthrough of a stage differ depending on the ones you have. It's a cool idea I enjoyed ever since the first game, but so far I haven't seen it being as realized as I wanted it to be. Maybe I am asking too much out of a little old game for the NES, but well, I'm doing it anyway. Don't get me wrong though. I think Mega Man 3 is a great game, just as good as 2. Sharing some of the flaws even, but nothing majorly annoying. Well, at least nothing that I wouldn't expect from a game of that era. You can say Mega Man 3 is more of the same of 2, with small new additions sprinkled here and there, and that's fine. As long as the stages are fun, I'm up for it. Though some interesting new changes would be very welcome. Let's see what 4 will do next then. So, it's been 3 games already. We're halfway through the games on the NES. By now, I'd say the series has very much solidified itself. I wonder then, what will the second trilogy bring to us? And I'll say it right away, Mega Man 4 is my favorite one so far. There are a few reasons why I think so let's get talking about it. The game starts with a story sequence. Yeah, we're back with those. And it doesn't tell only about this game. It gives a little summary of the whole story from the previous 3 games so far. That's real nice considering the first didn't show any story whatsoever. We get to learn of Mega Man's origins and of course the new challenges to come. After Wily's death in the previous game, a new threat rises, Dr. Cossack. And another very important thing is mentioned in this intro. Mega Man's got a new buster. Hell yeah, the charge shot makes its entrance here. Man, I gotta be honest, I wouldn't say I was missing the charge shot so far, even though it's pretty much a staple in all Mega Man games that follow. In my mind, I was thinking I prefer the simple controls. I like the button mashing, and if I want to pack a stronger punch, there's always a boss weapon that does the trick. But oh boy, how I changed my mind. Firstly, the charge shot doesn't invalidate mashing. Some tankier enemies won't go down with one charge shot, so you still need to deliver some normal ones. And of course, sometimes you won't have the time to charge it all up, so the good old normal shots still have a place. Secondly, it's not that overpowered, since it takes time to charge. Strong boss weapons still have a place here, since you can use them much more quickly with less downtime. I feel like stages are more challenging this time around. Not by a big margin mind you, but I enjoyed stages the most here because of that extra bump in difficulty. It's not an unfair difficulty either. But challenge is not the only reason why I enjoyed stages more than usual. With Mega Man 4, we got something not seen in previous games, and it's one thing I really appreciate. Hidden areas. In some stages you'll find secret sections that will award you with an extra power-up if you reach its end. After you get it, the game pops you back on the main path of the stage. Man, I like this so much. Until now the series barely had anything in the way of hidden power-ups. Unless you wanna count Mega Man 1's boat, which isn't exactly hidden if you ask me. It's not many, in fact there's only 2 stages that have these. But it was fun to be on the lookout for those after I found the first one kinda by chance. The first I got was in Pharaoh Man stage, in which you gotta leap over this hole and go to the right. It's a precise jump if you just do a normal jump, which I did, since I wasn't expecting something to actually be there. But it's much more doable if you use Rush Coil, which you start the game with again by the way. The second is in Dive Man stage, in this very suspicious hole. I stared at it for a while when I first saw it, thinking, hey, this hole is weird, it's too small, there's no enemies around to push you into it. Why is it here? Is it actually supposed to be a hazard? So, I took the leap of faith and went right into it. Good thing my intuition was right. In these secret areas you get the balloon and the wire. The balloon works like the item 1 from Mega Man 2. And the wire, man, it's really cool. You can throw a hook above you, then pull yourself up. This allows you to skip some platforming sections, or reach high areas with much ease. Dude, check out this crazy save I made with the wire during a boss fight. Holy crap, I can't believe I pulled that off, that was insane. And check out the face Mega Man does when you equip it and press up. Also, even though we got those 2 secret power-ups, we still have the Rush forms. Alongside Coil, which I already mentioned, Jet and Rain also make a comeback. Not only that, but they're much better balanced this time around. Jet now automatically moves forward, and you can only control its vertical movement, unlike in previous games where it could be used for vertical reach as well. Now that's entirely on Rush Coil. Rush Marine consumes much less energy than it did in 3, which I love. It was tons of fun actually using it on Dive Man stage. That means, apart from the 8 boss weapons, we got 5 extra power-ups to play with. The pause screen also changed to accommodate that, and man, it looks sick. Even though red isn't Mega Man's color, I don't care, this looks great. The boss weapons here are okay, I guess. We don't have game-changing stuff, just more of the same. Lots of forward-moving projectiles this time though, I don't like it. We could have had more variety. But I gotta say I had some really cool moments with a few of them. Skullman's power was a damn blessing. It gives you a shield that protects you from projectiles or smaller enemies. It made traversing through some sections a much easier job, and that's a good thing, since as I said, I feel this game is a little harder than the ones before. Plus, I figure out how to use the powers to my advantage, so it's not easier for free. Pharaoh Man's power is not necessarily a defensive power-up, but you can charge it, and when you do, it creates this big ball of sand over your head, which doesn't disappear until you launch it or it hits some enemies. Depending on the attack it touches though, it doesn't go away, so it was very handy for this section with a lot of stuff falling from above and messing up your jumps. And talking about power-ups, man, look at this new weapon get animation. Damn, it's so stylish. E-tanks work the same as before and are just as plentiful, but since stages are harder and bosses just seem to love to run into you, they'll be very handy here. I'd rather get rid of E-tanks and just have unlimited retries as I said before, but go say that to a game designer back in that time. They sure love their lives and game overs. After you beat the 8 robot masters, it's time to face Dr. Konpaku. The fortress stages here are great. Not only do they have unique and interesting mechanics, the bosses are very creative too. One of the stages even has different paths you can take. The problem of checkpoints far from the bosses still remains. Oh well. At least the bosses aren't too difficult this time around. And on another note, the game over screen doesn't have the stage select option anymore, so there's no chance you choose it accidentally and lose all your castle progress this time. At the end of Cossac's fortress, you find out he was being manipulated by Wily all along. Yeah, he didn't die it seems. Cossac's daughter was held hostage, but Proto-Man rescued her, so now all that's left is to defeat Wily once again. You go through 2 more stages which are interesting too, with giant versions of some enemies as bosses. And after that, the good old boss rush, and the final boss. This time, the first Wily fight is in the same stage as the boss rush, so if you get a game over on it, you have to do the entire thing again. It's quite a pain since the second part of the fight is tricky to get how it works, although it's a very fun fight once you figure it out. The last fight has its own stage, with a little walking before you get to the fight itself, just like in Mega Man 2 actually. And the fight itself is very peculiar. The whole arena is pitch black, save for very brief flashes of light, where you can see where Wily is. You gotta remember where he is and quickly use the charge Pharaoh Man's attack to aim and hit him. That's the only way to do any damage. I didn't know you can change his attack direction by the way, so I did the whole fight trying to hit it while holding the ball. It was still easy though. Just like Mega Man 2, it's a very gimmicky fight and only one specific weapon can do damage to the boss. I like those. Even though it's trial and error until you figure out which weapon works, it gives that feeling that this really is a tough enemy and you gotta know exactly what to do to win. And that's it. I think overall we have one less stage than Mega Man 3, so not much of a difference. But I absolutely appreciate the slightly shorter campaign, even more because I feel all stages are pretty unique, unlike before where 4 stages were remixes of previous ones. That, plus the biggest variety so far of extra items, the secret areas, and the addition of the charging shot, make this my favorite Mega Man game so far. Dashing, charging, multiple extra items, E-tanks. One could think that all of this addition so far would rob the game of its simplicity. But I think it all combines well into a solid package with no needless excess. It's all very cohesive and the experience feels enriched. If we had more diverse and creative boss power-ups and more forgiving checkpoints, this could have been the perfect Mega Man game. Regardless, I'm very proud of this series so far, and despite being on the 4th game, it's still fresh and fun to play. Alright, that's Mega Man 3 and 4. I'm happy with the development of this series so far. Each game expanded the core formula a decent amount, not changing the base itself but enhancing it. New moves, new items and more stages in the main campaign, all without making the game feel bloated. While there have been many new aspects that managed to integrate well, I wonder if this will remain the case for the next entries. After all, there's only so much you can add to a design, and it's been already 4 games doing that. They could also just focus on having cool new ideas for the next stages and power-ups. But we'll find that out in the next episode, where we'll look at Mega Man 5 and 6. Those were the last games of the classic series on the NES, and so they will mark the final episode of this series. I hope you look forward to it, and thanks for watching. Until next time.